Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Saturday edition of the Jam Talk Show. You're tuned to the Saturday edition of the Jam Talk Show. I'm your host, Dorlan H. Francis, and I will be with you this afternoon from 6 until 7:30 p.m. I'd like to thank you for tuning in, and I, as usual, implore you to listen. And if you like what I'm saying, you're to share it with your family and friends and spread the word that emanates from the Jam Talk Show. I hope you learn something. It's my endeavor best to try to educate and to inform. So thanks for joining. This evening, we're going to be taking an in-depth look at the growth proposal coming from the chairman of the Economic Growth Committee, Mr. Michael Leachin. But before we get into that, we will be taking a look at the current affairs as per usual. And this evening in the current affairs, we start on a bit of sad news. The first sad news is that a 3-year-old baby was murdered, and apparently by the child's father. It's my understanding that the father turned himself into the police, and after confessing to the crime, made his escape. He was subsequently found with multiple gunshot wounds, and he is deceased. Now, that's very tragic, and I'm inclined to believe that this person cannot be of sound mind. I am very disturbed by the development. A 3-year-old baby, very sad. But I am a bit disappointed that the father was not taken into custody, evaluated for psychologically, and if he needed help to provide it for him. But now we have lost 2 lives, for what seemed to be totally unnecessary, a total waste of precious lives. Also this evening, we mourn the passing of a courageous police woman. I'm very sorry I'm not able to get her name. People are very reluctant in reporting on these things to release names. I'm yet to learn the name of this police corporal. But I'd like to extend deeply felt sympathies to our loved ones and our friends. It's really the tragic loss, and another apparent senseless killing, and maybe she was targeted because she's police. Now, I know this Minister Montague is trying to change the game, trying to implement shock therapy. We need that. In most countries, bad men know that they don't target police, because when they provoke police, they will invite the wrath of the police on them. I've been to the US, and these guys, they don't go targeting police. If they're cornered, then they might, do things. And of course, police officers have been shot in those places too, but they are not targeted like this one seemed to have been. And the same thing in Canada, because these guys know that when you mess with police, you're just inviting trouble on yourself. More trouble than than when you go and commit other crimes. Because you turn the searchlight of the police, you bring the full force of the resources of the police onto you. So people, show that kind of deference to police. And I would love to see the day when the same thing happened to Jamaica. I would implore the police to spare no effort in finding these killers and make an example of them. Because when you an attack on the police, attack on the state, attack on law and order. They want to show that, like they are the ones in charge. They want the police to be afraid. Then so when the police get afraid, what going to happen to the citizens? Who will the citizens then turn to? So the police need to stand them ground. They need to use their intelligence gathering method and to move against these guys with dispatch and determination. And they need to differentiate, just like in other countries. Police are people you don't mess with. And the Jamaica police need to set that tone. They need to, especially a policewoman, man. I mean, everybody's life is special, but when you go and beat up on the woman of the country, you're taking it a bit too low now. And we need to stop. We can't go any lower. And I see Minister Montague is looking at ways to change the tone. It is clear that he wants to change the tone. And he wants to bring some measure of shock therapy to the table. I totally support that. But I do not believe hanging is the answer. Right? For two reasons why I don't support hanging. One, I know for a fact that innocent people have been hung in the past. And I know it is quite possible that innocent people could be hung in the future. And it is for that reason and that reason alone that I do not support the ultimate punishment of hanging. And I don't really believe that hanging provides the deterrent that most people believe it does. I don't believe hanging provides a deterrent. I believe what might provide even greater deterrent is public flogging. I believe all these guys who are in their community going like they are dons and bad men and all, they should be taken back to their community and flogged publicly. Right? Because one of the things with badness in Jamaica, is because the Dan man get a certain amount of respect, Yes, man. In some communities, you have, little youths looking up to these guys and they see the kind of respect they get. When they ask for this, they get it. They order this, it happen. And some of our young men, maybe women too, look at this and say, think that is something worth emulating. Now, when you bring these guys back to the community and flag them publicly, man, the humiliation might be something these people do not want to emulate. And I really believe that public flagging should be brought back. I don't want to hear about no cruel and unusual punishment. Flagging can be cruel and unusual. Because we still do flagging in primary school. Well, in schools in general. And you have in other countries, flogging is done along with other methods of punishment. But I don't see nothing wrong with flogging. But I believe it will probably have more deterrent value than hanging. That's my belief. I don't have no studies to support this. But just knowing the psyche of my people, of the people we're talking to, you know. A man, if he's being punished privately, or like when you're being hanged, it's a private encounter. Some people can deal with that. Some people can deal with that. But some people can't deal with the disrespect in public. It's the public humiliation. And that is what public flogging would do. It would humiliate these guys who feel they're bad. And I'm sure after a bad guy endure a flogging, most people in the community who probably would look up to him in the past would not look up to him in the future. And that, to my mind, would have a deterrent effect. So I would strongly urge I look at that public flogging, because the hanging thing there, it is too difficult for us to bring a matter through the court system in Jamaica. Jamaica court system need a lot of fixing. A lot of fixing. The things proceed too slowly through the court system. And I think the Privy Council had set a clear benchmark. If you can't execute the guy within 5 years, forget about it. Forget about it. And I don't see what is going to happen. What is going to come new, so that you can expedite the processing, right, of a convicted murder. Allow him to exhaust all options, and then to bring it to hang. I do believe that between the accused, or the convict, if you want to call it that, and his lawyers, they will find ways to stall. They will find ways to stall the process, and we'll be lucky if we can get 2 cases that would have exhausted its legal options within 5 years, and therefore those guilty party could then be subject to the ultimate penalty of hanging. So if that's not going to be possible, I think the public flogging should be looked at. The number of lashes and all that, and the kind of wish. These are things we should go back to. I don't want to come here about cruel and unusual, because trust me, the crime that people are perpetrating on the society is cruel and unusual. And you need a response. You have to respond in a manner that will shock. You have to respond in a manner that will deter. It can't be the same old. Right? It's very difficult. I see the police, they're charging people, putting them before the justice system, and it moves at snail pace. And people you think are guilty as sin walk free sometime. So I agree that some shock therapy needed. Shock therapy is needed. We got to do something different. And we should try. We should try with the ultimate thing is with a state of emergency. If nothing else can work. But we need to look at some other options and escalate. Escalate. And if it's not deterring, you keep escalating until we reach a state of emergency. Because we're gonna need special power. Oftentimes the police know that these guys have done things, but you can't prove it because witnesses are intimidated and things like that. Other people are corrupted. They know they do it, but because of the corrupting nature of the society, some people are paid off witness are paid not to come testify, and all that. Right? Now when you have a state of emergency and you know say a man is a bad man, you can do certain things. You can take him away from society for a time, for a longer period than is now allowed under the civil code. Right? So we need to do that, because if crime is not reined in and contained, we can't forget about the economic prosperity. Right? Because right now, Jamaica, most of the country work 24/7. Jamaica can only work for 8 hours. That's why we are so underproductive. Our nightlife, our night activities is greatly curtailed. That is why in other countries, sports is an industry. Sports and entertainment is an industry. Look at North America. As one sport wind down, another one wind up. Right? Baseball, basketball is in the final stage, and baseball is on. And at any time you have two major sports going, where people can go around, amuse and entertain themselves, and there's a lot of economic value involved in that. But we in Jamaica can't have it. That's why football is so poorly supported. Because of the high level of violence, people don't want to go to these things. Right? No football, no cricket. And sports is a big industry, and in Jamaica there's a lot of room to grow sport. The entertainment, the music, the dance hall. Right? These are all areas of economic life, the amusement sections of life. And these are underdeveloped and underserved because of the crime bogeyman. We need to deal with the crime. We have to deal with crime. People must feel free to go out, to venture, to have fun, without having to worry that, it's almost a 50-50 chance that if I go out tonight, I might get killed. Those ratios are not good at all. Things will happen, and people know that things will happen, but people should have a far better ratio of survival, man, than 50-50. We have to deal with the crime. So, Minister, I admire your engagement, and I admire the fact that you're trying to do something to shock the conscience of the nation. But I think you need to look at some other things. I need to look at some other things. Because the hanging thing, I don't think it will play out. And most bad men know that too. They know that not going to result in a lot of them being hanged. So look at something else. Also in the current affair this week, there was this leak of the itinerary of Member of Parliament Juliet Holness and wife of Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness. Now, the leaking of this itinerary, I find it to be most disgraceful. It reminds me of somebody reading another person's letter. I think when you talk about privacy law, when you talk about privacy, I think reading a person's letter is one of the greatest invasion of privacy you can imagine. Right? And the leaking of this itinerary, to my mind, was tantamount to reading a person's letter. And then you're fast enough to go read the person's letter. But then you can make it public. And for TVJ to have brought this, it make me wonder where our country is going. And it make me not surprised why we are as poor as we are. why we are as underdeveloped as we are, because these are the kind of things, these are the kind of media, these are the kind of institution that is supposed to educate and inform. And what TVJ did was to run with a story. Somebody invade somebody's privacy. An invasion of privacy. An invasion of privacy of our First Lady. Some people figure that, in diplomat and protocol, say, oh no, well, she's our First Lady. She's the Prime Minister, she's the wife of the Prime Minister of the country. And if you can invade the privacy of a person of that standing, what won't you do? And for a media house to carry that story is a shame. They ought to be ashamed of themselves. What was newsworthy in that? Was she violating any law? Was she busting the country budget? Was she living high on the country on the taxpayers' dime? What was newsworthy about that? Why was it exposed? But with news media like those, no wonder our country is where it is. They have no shame. They have no sense of responsibility. I don't even think they know what they are about. I don't even think they know what their purpose is in life. It seems to me that the Gleaner and RGR, their only purpose is to prop up the PNP and to try their level best to make sure the PNP is back in power as soon as possible. So it seems to me like their mission is to be a nightmare to the government. Be their worst nightmare. So that their incompetent party, the party that has destroyed Jamaica, but the party which they love, for whatever reason they love it, will get a chance to come back in power. I think they should apologize for this. It was outrageous. It makes we look like a country that doesn't know what we're about. You know? Like we're people who would be happy to know that somebody went into another citizen's space, wherever that might be, find a letter or find some private communication, right? Open it, read it, and then come share it with the public. And then this media house, RGR, this shameless media house, figure that this was newsworthy. They ought to be ashamed of themselves. And if they continue in this way, I can predict it. They won't last long. Because what they're indulging is not news. It's not educational. And it is not uplifting. And people will start to treat them with the contempt they deserve. Recently they had a merge because I know that they were under pressure. Because you don't merge when you're making money. It's pressure, it's money pressure why they merge. Those pressure can intensify. They need to get back relevance in the society. Right now they are becoming irrelevant. The Gleaner and the RGR is on a track. Is in a orbit of irrelevance. And pretty soon they're going to feel the effects of that. They need to change their ways. This was despicable. And they should not repeat it. It doesn't matter if you have the evidence. What if you have the evidence of a private communication? It wasn't you who invaded the person's privacy. Somebody else invaded the privacy and carried you going to report it? Because you have it. You have the evidence. And what is helped by you reporting it? Except to show you fast. I don't know what your purpose is in life. That's all that it shows. You don't know what you're about. You need to shake up your follow grounds, RGR. And Gleaner too. I'll soon come to you, Gleaner. Because I saw your little misleading headline this week. I'm going to address it later on. But before I get to that, I'd like to speak about the other current affairs, which was the admission by one of my favorite comrade councillors, Vanessa Phillips, that the PNP use people. I know that was it wasn't really a fraudulent slip, because as I understand it, they thought they were in a private session, and the news, but the session had news reporters in it. Now, to my mind, I don't understand what is going on in that party, because I don't see how you can have people to come bare their soul, and then you have members from the media present. And apparently these people were not told that members of the media was present. So it seemed to me like there was a move afoot to entrap some people. And Councillor Phillips, who seemed to be a genuine soul, God bless her soul, because I think her heart is in the right place. One of the few comrades I admire, And she bear it out. Make it have been known to all who never know that PNP use people. I've been saying it all along. The PNP don't try to develop the country. The PNP don't try to develop people. The PNP want power. And for the PNP, power is the end in itself. And then all they do now is do little things to retain the power. Their mission is not to develop the country. Their mission is not to make Jamaica become a first world country by a set time. No. And that is why they don't embark on these mass scale development like the water system. Just look at their attitude to water. Look at their attitude to housing. They create these crises. They create scarcity. And then they're able to control certain things. Look at the house. Let's look at the housing schemes that the PNB builds. Huh? It's just one step removed from ghetto. Just one step removed from ghetto. The buildings are slipshod, and some of the weirdest concept you can imagine, like the 4-wall starter home that they have, the same concept that they use in Nannyville and De La Vega City and those places. You're going to give people you're going to put 2 intersecting walls and give people four also. So you have also 4 people. Of course, you have 4 votes, yeah. And then each man do his one little thing. Each man do his one little thing. One man might take 10, 15 years to build up another little room. Another one might build 2-story, and then you have all kind of things. How you develop a place like that? That's not development. But they use that system because you get a lot of political returns when you do things like that. Right? One of the biggest thing was the housing. You go ask most comrade right now why them vote PNP. Oh, them get a house. What kind of house? One of the quadrant of the 4 walls. Right? One of the quadrant of the 4 walls. You understand? That's what they call house. No roof. 2 walls. Right? 2 walls. Because when you have the 2 intersecting walls, they form a quadruplex. And you get one, all you get is 2 walls. Right? And a lot of people, that is because they get those 2 walls, they are eternally grateful to PNP. No, a lot of shack better than that. A lot of cardboard shack and the gully bank better than that. So I don't see what is there to be grateful about. And I was very heartened when I noticed that some I think it was Bill Johnson who did a poll and found out that 44% of the people who voted for the PNP in the last election did so out of tradition. They vote PNP because they are PNP. Right? Well, we are only 19% of JLP was like that. 19%. Because the people who support JLP are objective people and they vote on merit. If you don't merit it, we're not voting. You understand? But the people who vote for PNP just vote PNP. No matter what they do, they vote PNP. It's nonsense. That's why this country is where it is. And you're not doing the party no favor, because when you reward a person without performance, you're not doing that person or that institution any favor. And that is why Jamaica has come to what it has come, because of that kind of support. That is what you call blind loyalty. That is cult-like support. It is the kind of support that David Koresh had from the Branch Davidians. And they ended up in smoke. It is the kind of support that Jim Jones had. Right? And we all know how that ended. They all went and drink the Kool-Aid. Those are blind, stupid support. And the only little ray of hope is that is the older folks who are like that. Right? So time will take care of that. Right? Over time you'll have less of those people who think like that. And the younger people are breaking ranks. I was very heartened by that. The young people, they start looking and say, what's the point? And rightly so. What's the point? You go and support a party and you have nothing to show. But you go and support them anyway. More like how you would support a football team. It's my team, this, and even when they're at the bottom of the table, it's my team and I'm not going to abandon it. And if my team beat a top of the table team, you know, it's all reason to cheer. You know. So, you know, the PNP come with them half-baked ideas. They're con because most of their proposals, they don't intend to execute them. They just decide to fool up people. Right? They come with a con and might beat a party like the JLP with a better proposal, and people feel good about that. You know, it's very nice to know that people are coming to their senses. And it's good that from within the PNP, it is coming that, yes, they do use people. They use people. Because for the PNP, the ultimate goal is power. Power is the end in itself. Excuse me. Right? Other parties use power as a means to an end. A means to develop their country or a means to develop their people. But not the PNP. They just want the power. So that they and their connected people can enjoy the trappings of office and be at liberty to plunder the resource of the state. So it's good when people can speak up. Thanks, Councillor Phillips. Speak the truth. Speak the truth. Show that you have a conscience. And I hope more people in your party will emulate what you do and change. And I hope there will be sufficient outrage, sufficient outspokenness that will compel change, because the People's National Party need to change. The People's National Party need to accept that they are the ones why Jamaica is in the mess it is in. They need to accept that they are the ones why Jamaica is on track to be the worst economy of 189 countries by 2030. They can spin it all they want. They can cut it, they can dice it. We are in that position because of nothing else other than we have been governed by the People's National Party for the last 32 of the last 44 years. And they need to change. If they don't change, our country will have no future. Right? If they continue to can only find ways to win election by cunning and tricking, And then when they win, they do nothing. Our country will have no future. And we need politicians like Vanessa Phillips to speak up and hope that change will come. You're listening. You're listening to the Jam Talk Show. I'm your host, Dorlan H. Francis. In a little while, we'll be getting to the main discussion for the afternoon. But until that time, I'm gonna take a break so I can give my voice a little rest. And I'm gonna see if this prosperity song can do something for you.
I love myself, I'm on my way, I'm getting richer every day. I love money, money loves me, I'm on the road to prosperity. Now I don't need to hide my money like some buried treasure. I circulate it lovingly and use it for my pleasure. And when my bank account gets low, that doesn't mean I'm in trouble. 'Cause every dollar that I spend will come back to me double. And I love myself, I'm on my way, I'm getting richer every day. I love money, money loves me, I'm on the road to prosperity. Now I don't need to waste my time in a job that I find boring. There's many creative ways to earn, I can spend my time exploring. And making money by working hard is fine, there's no denying. But getting paid for fun and play is far more satisfying. And I love myself, I'm on my way, I'm getting richer every day. I love money, money loves me, I'm on the road to prosperity.
On the road to prosperity. Welcome back. You're tuned to the Saturday edition of the Jam Talk Show. I'm your host, Dorlan H. Francis. And this afternoon, I'll be exploring the growth target of the Economic Growth Council. As promised in the election campaign, Prime Minister Andrew Holness announced the naming of a Economic Growth Council that is to be chaired by one of Jamaica's most successful businessmen, Mr. Michael Leachin. And he also announced some investment ambassador. One of the ambassadors was Mr. Senator Orban Hill and Mr. Nigel Clark, Dr. Nigel Clark. These were master stroke, and this indicate quite clearly that this new prime minister is serious about growth. But before I get into the discussion, I have to comment on the way this the Economic Growth Council was reported on. All right. when Mr. Leachin was named chairman, in his acceptance speech, he mentioned that he will be targeting a 5% per annum growth for the next 4 years, right? Cumulative is hoping to have 20% growth in 4 years, right? That's what that means. Now the Observer, in their report, their headline was Leachin aims for 5% annual GDP growth, right? That's fair reporting. That's straightforward. Anybody who can read can understand that. 5% annual GDP growth. Let's look at how the Gleaner reported. The Gleaner report, their headline was as follows. Growth Council seek 5% GDP growth in next 4 years. Growth Council seek 5% GDP growth in next 4 years. Are you telling me that the guys at the Gleaner are so dumb and daft? Or is it that they want to deceive and mislead? I believe it's the latter. Because you can't have fools running a Gleaner, a newspaper. And this headline is totally misleading. Growth Council seek 5% GDP growth in next 4 years. Now the average person will look at that and think you're talking about 5% growth in 4 years. Right? That's what they would believe. Which would average about 1.25% growth per year. Right? And that is what that's the kind of impression they want to leave. Oh, it's no big thing. Well, we have been used to 1% on the PNP. So they're coming with this now, and what they're really offering is 1.25. So it's no big thing. That's what this misleading headline will leave. That's the impression it will leave with people. And the Gleaner need to do better. But we all know how propaganda works. We know the subtlety of propaganda. How you play with words and how you twist statement to get your desired effect. And I know the effect you wanted to give us that, this is no big thing. Because it's just a little bit of growth they're targeting. That's the impression you want to leave in the mind of people. And that's dishonest and deceptive. And Gleaner, you need to do better than that. You need to do better than that. But Growth Council seek 5% GDP growth in the next 4 years. Or about 5% per annum. Why you never put that in? Just like how the Observer put it in. Make a big difference. But you don't want to make the difference. That's not the kind of difference you want to make, Gleaner, right? You want to make a misleading difference, don't it? You ought to be ashamed of yourself. And you guys, why Jamaica reach? You have to take full responsibility because the PNP never sees power. It's those propaganda like these that shore them up, enable them to help con the people, and enable them to win state power, even though they were not able to develop the state and develop the people. You were there, one of their biggest cheerleaders, propping them up. I'd be ashamed with your misleading headlines. But it's about time you learn. People will recognize your deception and they will call you out for it. And before long, you will be paying the price for your propaganda, Gleaner. You must stop it. Stop it. It never saved the PNP the last time. It's not going to save him going forward. Your propaganda will be neutralized. But when you get too annoying with your propaganda, you might have a price to pay for it. People might just choose to withdraw their support entirely. And your paper could suffer the consequence of your incessant, deceptive propagandizing. You have to stop it. Anyway, so the council was named, and the chairman is Mr. Leachin. I look forward to see who else will be named on this board. But I applaud the effort. I applaud the intention. And I hope they will be able to achieve what they set out to achieve. Right? In a proposal I made, the goal was to double income in 10 years because I believe Jamaica national income can be double in 10 years. At the most, 15 years. Jamaica is so underdeveloped. There's so many things to do that having growth that would cause income doubling in 10 years is not an impossible. It's not asking too much. I propose that a 10-year income doubling that would have seen growth of 3% in the first year, 4% in the second year, 5% in the third year, 6% fourth year, 7% fifth year, 8% sixth year, 9% in the seventh year, and 10% for 8th, 9th, and 10th year. Right? That would have produced an average 7.2% annual growth and caused the nation income to double in 10 years. So when Mr. Leachin came and proposed 5%, he's been very conservative, and I believe he will be able to attain his goal. I think if I know Mr. Chin, and when I say know him, just observing how he operates and what he has accomplished, I know he's lower in expectation to over deliver. I think he's under promising with the hope of over delivering, because 5% growth is very attainable. Very attainable. Now, if you're going to embark on a mission for growth, you have to understand the economy, and you have to understand what causes growth in an economy. Right? I know Mr. Leachin is a businessman and he should have a good idea of these things. But I'd just like to add my 2 cents worth. Right? One of the main ingredients for growth in an economy is the availability of affordable, or put another way, low cost capital. Right? That is the main thing needed for explosive growth in any economy. Low cost capital. When capital is low, mortgage rates are low. When mortgage rates are low, people will buy house. When people buy a house, you have carpenter, mason, steelman, and all the people in the building trade have work. Building. You have people who supply all these materials, can supply them. The economy will churn. Right? But when interest rate is at 10% or above on mortgage, very few people can buy a house at that level. I would hazard a guess that just about 45% of the population could really afford a house. And in a prosperous economy, in a thriving economy, you should be looking between 60 to 70% of the population being able to afford their house. Right? And in order to do that, you need to have capital. You need to have low cost capital. A country that I look at in modeling this income doubling thing is Japan. Right? In the 1960s, Japan embarked on a national income doubling strategy under the leadership of Prime Minister, what's his name again? The name will come to me in time. IKEA. It was Hideka. I'm trying to remember the last name, but anyway, he embarked on a 10-year income doubling plan, and he was able to double the income of the country in less than 10 years, right? He was able to double the income in less than 10 years. And one of the main ingredients in that was a overloaning policy. Yes, his name is Hayato Ikeda. Prime Minister Hayato Ikeda. He was the man who led the Japanese miracle. And one of his targets was income doubling. And they embark on this overloaning policy. Overloaning. They deliberately provide loans. Loan was not a problem for the manufacturing sector of Japan, right? And we need to do the same thing. Unless we recognize that without capital, without cheap money, our growth target in Jamaica will be a pipe dream. You cannot have growth with expensive money. And you cannot have growth relying only on foreign direct investment. Right? Foreign direct investment is good and welcome, but when you're going to rely on them mostly or solely for your growth, you're begging for trouble. You're creating a plantation state, right? Where foreigners just come on up all the instrument of economic power, and we employ our people as low wage workers. In other words, you're not too far removed from the plantation system, right? And that can be the strategy, right? So Japan went off on this overloaning because you know something, Japan never have a problem with capital. Japan was one of the leading savers in the world, and the Japanese saved through postal saving banks and life insurance. Cash value life insurance. That is what financed the Japanese miracle. And with that amount of capital, they were able to embark on the strategy of overloaning at very low cost. They were able to provide capital to people who want to do something and at very low cost. And we need to emulate that. Right? First and foremost, our Economic Growth Council need to recognize what is required to have growth. And capital is the first requirement. Capital is the first requirement. And we should be embarking on a mission and on a policy to encourage local capital formation. We need to encourage that. The proposal is there, establish another mutual life insurance company. And when I say mutual, I mean a company that is owned by the policyholders, just like Mutual Life was. That is the best model for life insurance. The people who use the product, who own the company. So therefore now when the premium, if you overcharge the people, then you can refund the money in the form of dividend to the same people who own the company. Right? When you have the company only with the model that is now in place, which people think is fine, which I totally disagree with, then if they overcharge, then it's just the shareholders of those companies who keep those overcharged premium. Right? But with a mutual company, one where the policy holders are the owners of the company, they can afford to adequately price their product. And if the product is overpriced, then the people will get back the thing in the form of dividends. Right? And those are the kind of policies that should be incentivized. Whole life cash value insurance that pay dividends. Right? And the premiums for these should be deductible, and that is one of the reasons why you don't abandon income tax. Because without income tax, you can't do this, and it's a good lever you can use. So you can incentivize people, encourage them to save. So like you can come up and say, well, premium of X up to X amount. You know, I don't know what that would be a suitable target right now, but maybe at least $100,000 in an insurance premium would be deductible from income before taxation, right? And this will cause explosive growth in insurance sales. You know why insurance is so powerful? Because a number of reasons. One, people know that if they have family and they were to die, they need to leave something for them. So, you know, that emotional thing is there, right? And then because of that, and then insurance is the thing where you have insurance agents will go around and knock on people's door. And them get good commission to do it. It's a good incentive. So they will go and see to it that people save. Because one of the biggest problems in life is the challenge to save. Saving doesn't come easy. Doesn't come natural. It's hard to save. Right? But the insurance agent will go around and he will have a self-interest based on the commission he makes to go and talk to people about saving, and we'll see that people keep on saving. Because if the people have stopped it, then he's going to get a commission charge back and he will feel it in his pocket. So there's incentive all around for people to continue with their policy. And when you save through insurance, right, the lower the interest rate in a country, the better it is for life insurance, right? In my first book, Life Insurance, the Cause of Economic Prosperity, it shows how insurance causes economic prosperity. Because it has a lot of happy coincidence. And one of those happy coincidences is that a nation prospers best when capital is cheap. And when life insurance company can price their premium using low interest, they are safer. If a company can use, say, 2 or 3% interest in calculating the premiums that they will charge, the premiums will be a little higher to the policyholders, right? But the company will be on a sounder footing. Because the money they collect now, they don't have to go invest it at no 8 and 9 and 10% in order to find money to meet its claim obligation. They can afford to invest at 2, 3 and 5% and still make money and can meet the obligation. So when they can lend money at 2, 3 and 5%, they can buy government bonds at low cost and at safer returns. So it's all around good. The companies know that they can collect their interest because it's slower, easier to pay, right? The government having to pay lower interest will then be able to budget far less in their budget for interest charges and loan servicing. Right now, about 48% of the budget is in interest charges and loan servicing. 48%. And if they can get money at low cost, it could go down to probably 35%. Right? And they will have a lot more money that they can use to do other things. And that is why insurance plays such a powerful role in the development of countries. Right? And I would implore Mr. Leachin to focus on this thing. He has to have a capital mobilization strategy. Because we keep talking about this foreign direct investment. It's nonsense. When the Japanese was growing, the Japan actively shut out foreign direct investment, They put obstacles in the way of foreign direct investors. They didn't want a foreigner come in because they rightfully knew that when you allow the foreigners to come invest, the foreigners will have to repatriate the profit. And once you get past the initial investment, everything else is a drain on the society after that. And I think we in Jamaica is experiencing that right now because we are looking to foreigners to invest in the hotel industry. Foreigners. And my understanding is that 80% of the tourist dollar is sent back out of the country. 80%. What good that make? What good does that make? And if we can mobilize capital locally and pool those money and target industry where growth can take place, and tourism is clearly one. And we have our local people building 5-star hotel. And all of those money staying in Jamaica, you don't think we'll be a better country? Of course we'll be a better country. Right? So one of the things is I would implore Mr. Leachin, have a plan to mobilize capital in Jamaica. Local capital formation and encouragement. The proposals have been there for a long, long time. I call it LIFE. Local investment formation and encouragement. LIFE. Take a look at it. Right? And one of the ways to mobilize local capital is with life insurance company. Encourage the Prime Minister and his government to establish another life insurance company. A wholly owned Jamaican life insurance company. This belief that two foreign company is all well and good is nonsense. All of the profits is repatriated to foreign shareholders. And we are just treading water. We are to get back another Jamaican owned life insurance company. A mutual life insurance, that is the optimum ownership for life insurance company. A mutual life insurance company. And just like how mutual life was established by an act of parliament, can you use another act of parliament and establish a mutual one, a mutual life insurance in Jamaica? Call it some other name, but the concept is mutual, meaning the policy holders own it. And government can advance seed capital for that company. Right? It's $1 billion, $2 billion, however how much is prudent. Advance that money, that would be money well advanced. And you can take it back over time. Advance it, put in the management in place, and then you incentivize the sale of life insurance and make people, insurance salesmen, compound the nooks and crannies of Jamaica, get people to save, and then have these companies investing in Jamaica. I remember during FinSac, when the commissioner said, look to Jim Parks, who was the last chairman of Mutual Life. Jim Parks, a gentleman I know well, and I know he did his best, right? And he recognized that something external was happening, as he pointed out in the FinSac inquiry. When he was saying, oh, why is it that, so many other companies were affected? So it was an external disease. And you're right. So it doesn't reflect on his abilities. He did well. He was a good manager. He was a good salesman until he became a manager. He did his best. But there were forces beyond his control that sink the 9 other life insurance company. But he was saying, when they were looking to him and say, but you depart from your core business. And Jim Park said, no man, our core business, we insurance companies who build Jamaica. We invest in everything. Insurance company invest in farming. They invest in manufacturing. They invest in tourism. Because the premium dollar has to be invested. An insurance company have the biggest pool of long-term capital you have in any country. So if they were to, because according to those commissioners, they think the insurance company should have just take the premium and leave it in the bank. No, you don't do that. Insurance company build country. Even America is insurance make America great, right? Cash value, whole life insurance. And I dare anybody come to talk to me about universal life. Universal life bankrupt all Jay. Is universal life mash up the industry in Jamaica. Universal life is a product that was designed by a Wall Street quaint. A financial engineer from Wall Street. A guy named Hutton. These guys, almost anything they touch turn to disaster. Because all they can focus on is how to make money. Instead of how to provide a sustainable service or a product that people can use. Right? So universal life is not it. And if the government was to ever incentivize the sale of life insurance, they should not ever incentivize the sale of universal life insurance. Anywhere universal life go, it cause financial destruction or economic retardation. Right? Because the mistake they make is they are pursuing high yields. But high yields is a anatomic to growth and prosperity. So what they want will end up causing destruction. So you can't embrace it. You can't support it. Right? So in insurance, the farm system in America was financed through by life insurance. Because these people understand that when people nutrition is adequate, they will live longer. So those were good investment, right? All round good investment, because you lend to a farmer, you can get your 2 and 3% return, which is what they want. That is the target. They get the 2 and 3%, but at the same time, the farmer is producing the food that will sustain the people and then enable them to live longer. Life insurance, finance, pharmaceutical development. Because they understand that with medicine, people will live longer. And when people live longer, life insurance company stay more viable, make more profit. And so that is a win-win there again. Right? It was life insurance who this product called gamma interferon. I think it's a blood clotting agent for hemophiliacs, right? And or was it Activase TPA? One of those products. But those two products, they finance the development of those products. Activase TPA and gamma interferon, right? Those were pioneering drugs at the time, financed by insurance, because they want people to live long. Yeah, you can imagine. I don't want you to die. I want you to live long so I can make money. That's the way to go. You understand? What we have, what we have been replaced by now is the people who don't care if you're dead tomorrow as long as them suck out your money. And you have the insurance company who want you to live long. Because that is the way they make money. And because of that, they finance things that will bring prosperity to people. And that is why insurance causes prosperity around the world. You understand? And so therefore if they was to come in on a mutual company, incentivize the sales of life insurance, and you have this big pool of capital, they can then use it to invest it wisely in the economy, because the economy to grow, knowing fully well that the better the more prosperous the country is, right? The less claim they will pay. But when the insurance company is owned by people in Barbados or people in Trinidad, you think they don't care about Jamaica. They just want to make some profit now and repatriate it. So what went down on the FinSac and the subsequent thing where foreigners are owning insurance, it's a big blunder. And that must be corrected. We need a solid Jamaican owned life insurance company. And then you give solid tax break to the company so that they can go mobilize capital that we can then lend at low cost to people who can go make things and build up the country. And Mr. Leachin, you need to focus on that. And one of the things, you are a man who operates a bank, right? You need to make your bank be more conscious. They make 6 billion in the first half or quarter, whatever period it was. They made 6 billion. How did they make it? I would suggest the Minister of Commerce to have banks itemize how they make the profit. Let them itemize it. I could see how much they're making from fees. I could see how much they're making from bunks check and all them something there, rather than how much. We need to know how much are you lending to the manufacturing sector. Are you only lending to money to people to buy a car and consumer loans and those kind of things on which you can charge high interest? Let us see it. Yeah? But one thing you need to understand, economy is a funny thing. Economy is one of the it's counterintuitive. It's like all the insurance company now. When they charge, if they use 2% to calculate the premium, you'll find that the cash value on a policy like that will accumulate faster. So savings will grow faster and they will see more accumulation quicker. That's when they use 2%. If they use 6% to calculate the premium, the savings will accumulate slower. That's how insurance is structured, right? And then by having low interest rate, when they lend it to their shareholders, their policyholders, or to the general public in whatever form, whether in the form of corporate bonds or government bonds, they lend it at 2-3%, right? The country prosper and their people live better. They have less claim and they make more money that way. It's counterintuitive. And the counterintuition work the other way. Because when you think by charging high interest, it's going to make you prosperous. No. That is what causes FinSac. It's the high interest cause FinSac because people can't pay it. Or you don't have a lot of people who can then come venture. So you have very low prosperity taking place in the country. So you need to look at your bank, Mr. Chin. Think about lowering the interest rate aggressively. This 50 basis point, gradual lowering. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. It went up like a rocket. It need to come down like a rocket too. 50 you're not gonna feel it. Lower it by 2%, the 2% point, 200 basis point. And the like, with a target are trying to bring everything under 10%. Right? Also, Mr. Michael Leachin, I know you're a Canadian. I know you must have seen how TD Canada just move. Yeah, man, I was here when they put $200 million in a fund and invite people to just come take loan. The only criteria that you should have an incorporation that was under 2 years. That was the criteria. You have a company incorporated under 2 years. And of course, a little credit check here and there. They basically was giving away the money. They were like doing like what Japan did. Over loaning. That is how you grow economy. And after TD did that, TD has been Canada #1 bank for the past how many years? And they did that because they came in very low on a rating one time. I think they were fourth of one of the 5 largest banks in Canada. And they went back to the drawing board and they came back with a lot of service for the clients, along with that fund, 200 million Canadian dollars. And business people could go in and apply for it. Get overdraft here and get a loan here to go do business. Right? And we never get a detailed reporting as to how that performed. But I'm sure they never lose it all. And TDs they're going from strength to strength, so it didn't weaken them. And the same thing will happen to you too, Mr. Chin. You made $6 billion. You can put $500 million in an account and say you're lending this to farmers at modest rate of interest. You're lending it to the small and medium-sized business in Jamaica at modest rate of interest. And I tell you, your bank will make even greater profit. Because economy is counterintuitive. Right? When you run down money, you get less. When you let it go, spread it out, you get more. Although the natural instinct is that no, you shouldn't be doing that. But you need to do it. Right? So you can start with that. You can set an example to the rest of the financial institutions in Jamaica. Because if you lead and lower your interest rate by a substantial amount, don't come with no 50 basis points. Those are monkey money. Reduce it by at least 2%. Right? Cut mortgage by about 2%. And cut manufacturing loan and farming loan in that category also. And then you'll see how the economy grow. You'll have to then go look for no large foreign direct investors. Because that is not all that it appears. There will be a backlash when you focus entirely on these foreign direct investors. There will be a backlash sooner or later. Right? So I would implore you to take a look at that. It was a good initiative, but you have to identify what will cause growth. And one of the main things that cause growth is cheap money and available money. And you need to take that two-pronged approach, lowering the cost of the capital that is there now, and have a plan to mobilize more capital. And the best way to mobilize it is with life insurance. Don't make anybody tell you anything else. Right? Because I wrote the book on that. You can get a copy online from exlibris.com and read it for yourself. I put it to the world that it was life insurance that financed the Industrial Revolution in England. Right? And it was life insurance that made Japan what it became. It was life insurance that financed South Korea growth and development. It was life insurance that did make Switzerland one of the richest countries in the world. You understand? And the study will show that countries that have an abundant life insurance industry tend to be more prosperous. If you have a mediocre life insurance, you have a little mediocre prosperity. And if you don't have any, you're poor. And some of the poorest countries in the world are countries without life insurance, headed by Muslim countries that are not oil producers. And it's all because of their religious belief. Because of their religious belief, they don't buy life insurance, and because they don't have life insurance, they don't have this capital mobilization ability, and they are poor. So these are the things you have to look at. Mobilize the capital. Don't feel that by getting 10 and 15% on money you'll be prosperous. You might be, and it might appear that way. But if you were to lend at 5 and less, right? Other people will prosper, but you probably will be 2 times as prosperous as you are. It's just that other people, will prosper, and then the gap between you, the rich man, and the poor man will be closer. Right? It won't be as wide as it is now. And I'm sure you wouldn't mind that. Because if your top line can move from 10 billion to 20 billion, you shouldn't care if the little man is moving from 100,000 to $1 million. That shouldn't be a big concern. But by using capital properly, by mobilizing it and using it properly, you will be able to achieve your goals, right? When you have money, there's a number of projects you can look at. Hotel industry is just one. Right now, we need to revitalize the railroad. Why are we having to look to foreigners to do that? We should be able to do our own railroad ourselves. The country can talk about being a first world country without a first rate rail service. It's not serious. Look at Singapore. Singapore is a dot. It don't be like St. James, but it have subways and first rail service. They can get from point A to point B in no time, but they use rail service. And that makes sense. If you want to be a serious player, if you want to be serious about development, you have to have rail service, right? So Jamaica have need for rail service. We shouldn't have to be looking to no foreigners for that. The only thing we need is technology, and I believe we have sufficient technology in Jamaica to develop our own rail service, right? We can use light rail, from Kingston to Spanish Town, from Papine to Portmore. We need that kind of system and take off the load off the road. The clog road, you can just imagine the amount of productive time that is lost with people in traffic, wasting time in traffic. Have light rail from Kingston to Spanish Town with a view to extend it to probably Old Harbour, right? Have light rail in Montego Bay, around the tourist area, right? With capital, we can have more tourist attraction, right? So that we'll add more value to the tourist product, and when the tourists come to Jamaica, they will leave more of the dollars in Jamaica and take it back with them, right? But we have to mobilize our own capital. This nonsense about foreign direct investment is part of the collab, the money guys from Europe who come up with these device. Have the IMF come to tell people, but they must try to get foreign direct investment. You know what I mean? In other words, what they're saying is, allow the Rothschilds to come in to invest so that they can make money. No, we don't have to do that. That's not what Japan did. Japan shut out foreign direct investment. And Japan demise. Japan has stalled and is probably in decline right now. And you know why? Because they were bludgeoned into opening up their markets. Japan was bludgeoned with all these trade agreements and things to tell the people nonsense that they have to open up the market. And what did Wall Street guys come to Japan to come do? Come bid up the stock market down there. Then bid up the naked through the roof. And they went down there and buy up the lands. Japan land index went through the roof, right? So the Tule class said that's all they did was to come and buy these assets. They don't come and create new products, build factories and things. Why they come and invest in financial assets. And they bid up the stock price, they bid up the land index. And then when people use this money now and take it to the bank and use it as collateral. And then the land index fell and the stock index fell. The banks became impaired. And that is what mashed up Japan. A foreign investment mash up Japan. They build their country without foreign assistance. They actively shut them out. They discouraged them. They didn't want them to come in. And the minute they were forced by these nonsensical trade deals, right? Because all these trade deals is about these guys, these greedy multinationals who feel that you can make money ad infinitum. They don't know that money has to be made based on the needs of the globe. Money has to be made based on the needs of the local economy where you are. And ultimately based on the needs of the globe. But you have these guys who just see that money can make ad infinitum. You just can't find a product and build it up. And this thinking has been around from 1634. It's the same thing they did with the tulip bulb. Right? They believe just by locking onto a tulip bulb, they could get wealthy. And they just pump up the price of tulip until it collapses and crash. And now they know that tulip bulb, you can't do that with tulip. So you know this, have no more tulip mania. Yeah. But what they do, they look for some other product, like the mortgage-backed security. And they pump that up. And that now, they might show caution with that now because they learn the folly of their ways. But they're always looking for something to pump up. And that's not how the economy is supposed to work. Because the bottom line is we're not here to make money, we're here to make things that sustain people's life. So unless the thing you're making has life to sustain, you have no market to sell it. And without a market to sell the product, what you're operating is a Ponzi scheme. And that is what has taken over the world. And we need to shun that. We need to withdraw from that thinking and mobilize capital to make things, to provide services that people will use to sustain their lives. That is what we need to do. And Japan woke up and allowed the foreign direct investors to come in. And because they came in 1991, and Japan has not been the same. Right? They pumped the stock market through the sky, and then it fell through the floor. They pumped the land price through the sky, and it fell to the floor. And the banks were severely impaired. And they were reluctant to bail out and wipe the slate clean and start afresh. And they have been there sauntering along ever since. But it's foreign direct investment that has messed up Japan. And foreign direct investment can mess up anywhere. Because they just come in, make some money as fast as possible, and leave when they feel like. That's not no model to use to develop country. Right? So let us work with the capital we have. Identify some interests. I hear Ed Bartlett Minister Bartlett speaking about a tourist bank. Brilliant idea. Brilliant idea. Right? So we channel money into the tourist bank and make the tourist bank finance tourist product, hotels, tourist attraction, and all those things. The rafters and the Rio Grande now I see them get wiped out. Tourist bank could give them some soft loan and get them back on them feet. Because when people are on their feet and can create demand in society, that's how society thrives. Right? We can target agriculture Modernize the agriculture, bring it up to first world standard. We can target transportation, bring our transportation up to first world standard. Minister Mike Henry have some brilliant idea, right? The open sky concept. When I look at it and look at the potential, it blew my mind. Because I think I'm a thinker, and I say, how me never think up that one there? And when Mike talk about that, about how you would build up Vernon Field, right? And people don't have to come to England now, get visa to come to England and get visa to come to America. You can make man just come to Jamaica. Man who want to go on to South America, that's why I come to Jamaica. And then connect from Jamaica to other points in South America. Brilliant idea. But if we have the capital saved locally, we could build Vernon Field into a first world hub. We can do it. We don't have to look to China, Exim Bank and all them things. We get too addicted to these kind of things. We need to focus on our own capital mobilization. And like I said, local investment, formation and encouragement. Life. That is what we need. And you should advocate for it. Use life insurance company as the vehicle. Incentivize life insurance sales. And then you'll have this pool of capital on which you can draw on. I think you have some very good ideas. I know you'll do a good job, Mr. Chin. And but you can improve on it by using some of the ideas I'm throwing out. I'm confident that with the kind of thinking that is now on the table in Jamaica, our country will be able to move from poverty to prosperity. I'd like to thank you all for joining. And as usual, I implore you to share and share generously. Share my program. Please do share, because I noticed that Facebook has come with a thing now where I can't share as much as I used to share. So I'm going to rely on my friends to share, share within there. You share to a couple, maybe 10, 20 people in their book, on their friend list. So please do share, and let the listenership for this program be as wide as possible. I hope you have learned something this afternoon, and I look forward to being with you next week. So until then, keep the faith and spread it gentle.